Why is it as we as human beings care so much about justice? Why is that? The Bible gives us a fascinating answer to that question. And when it was written, it was a time of tremendous injustice that was going on. What am I talking about? Moses. He wrote the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. He wrote them around 1550 somewhere BC. There was already over 3,000 years of human history. And at the time, the nation of Israel had been undergoing a tremendous injustice because they had been held in slavery to the Egyptian empire. And Moses penned something. He literally dropped an atom bomb on ancient culture that rocked the world then and is still to this day rocking it. And people have this trouble because Genesis 1, Moses' point was never to tell us how God created the world. That wasn't his argument. God, in his complexity and all that it took to create the world, we as human beings can't even begin to conceive the complexities in that. His point wasn't how God did it. His point was that God did it. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You see, in the ancient world, when Moses wrote this, all ancient cultures believed in a pantheon of gods. And now Moses says, no, there's only one true and living God, and he's the one that created it all. But the second point, which was so impactful, which is where we're going today, the epitome of God's creation, all built up to this, creating humankind. And it's found in Genesis 1 and verse 26. This was revolutionary then, and it's revolutionary still today when we grapple with this truth. Listen. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image and in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. The image of God, he created them. The word, and why I said he dropped an atom bomb, sorry, my tongue-in-cheek humor. The word Adam in the Hebrew is Adam, and it literally means mankind. See, when you narrowly define it just to man, it's not just talking about the male species. It's talking about this because, look at verse 27 again. Ladies, you need to say a big amen on this one. So God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. The image of God is not born in just one part of humankind. It's all of humankind together. The male and the female together. He created them. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. You see, in the day in which Moses wrote this, it was kings, it was ancient cultures that defined that their leader was the image of God. Because at that time in ancient culture, the kings believed that they were ordained of God to rule. Because the ancient kings defined good and evil for their cultures. And that's why they were the representation of their God. In fact, Moses wrote this coming out of Egypt. The leader of the Egyptian civilization, the Egyptian empire, was a man named Pharaoh. Pharaoh was his title. And it meant that he was the image of Ra. Ra was the chief of the Egyptian pantheon of gods. And so he was a son of God. He was the image of God. And now Moses says this, that every single human being bears the image of God. You see, in ancient culture, there were ruling classes. There were people that were designed that they were superior to others. And this is something that humankind has grappled with and wrestled with and struggled with. We see it even in the 20th century with the rise of the Third Reich, where they said that the Aryan race was the superior race because mankind has struggled. But Moses levels the playing field and said, no, every single human was created in the image and likeness of God. You see, in the Greco-Roman world, Aristotle, the great philosopher, had actually said, no, humans are not all equal. He said that only people who are rational are equal. and have those rights. There are others that are meant, and that's how ancient culture justified slavery. It's how ancient culture justified the mistreatment of other cultures and races and others. Even, guys, down to this, the Bible doesn't teach us that there are different races. I know this is I'm saying something heavy right now, but listen to me carefully. The Bible teaches there's only one race, the human race. This idea of race is a human construct to separate people. The Bible teaches us that when mankind was scattered, there was different ethnicities, that there was groupings of people that had common language and culture and stuff. But we all came from the same place. We were all made in the image and likeness of God.